A new front is taking shape in India's wider neighborhood, far from the Himalayas and the Indian Ocean. A once distant country is now inserting itself into South Asia's security landscape, hardening alliances and sharpening rivalries. Turkey, a NATO heavyweight with growing Islamist ambitions, is deepening its military and political partnership with Pakistan. From blocking India's Apache helicopter deliveries to echoing Islamabad's line on Kashmir, Ankara is emerging as an unexpected disruptor in the region. As this Pakistan-Turkey axis strengthens, one question now confronts New Delhi. Is Turkey becoming India's new enemy? And how should Delhi respond? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The story begins in the sands of West Asia, but its tremors are shaking South Asia. For decades, Turkey played no serious role in India's neighborhood. But under President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, a new ideological ambition is taking shape. Ankara wants to lead the Islamic world and sees Pakistan as its closest partner in that mission. This partnership isn't symbolic, it's steel, silicon, and firepower. During Operation Sindoor post the Pahalgam terror attack, Turkey wasn't just watching, it was supplying. From unmanned aerial systems to advanced targeting technology, Turkish hardware formed the backbone of Pakistani arsenal. And that isn't speculation, it's documented, flagged by India at the SCO meeting in Tianjin just weeks ago. The message was unmistakable. Turkey is no longer a neutral player. It is a military sponsor of Pakistan. But what does this mean for India in raw tactical terms? Let's break it down. Pakistani engineers and technicians are now working on Turkey's fifth-generation fighter, the Typhoon, a project designed to rival the F-35 and compete with advanced Russian and Chinese systems. Pakistan, shut out of Western defense ecosystem, sees Turkey as a gateway to high-tech platforms. Turkish aerospace firms have opened doors for Pakistani scientists. Pakistani Air Force officers train on Turkish F-16 upgrades. Over 1,500 Pakistani military officers have undergone training in Turkey since 2000. And it doesn't stop there. Turkey and Pakistan are jointly developing new drones, new precision weapons, new naval platforms. Their most ambitious partnership? A quiet, emerging trilateral axis between Turkey, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan, linking West Asia, Central Asia, and South Asia under one strategic umbrella. Why does that matter to India? Because every new weapon Pakistan acquires, every new capability it deploys, is being tested and shaped with Turkish support. And the evidence is not abstract. During Operation Sindoor, India repelled over 300 drones, many believed to be Turkish-made Songar models, weaponized, swarm-capable, and built for cross-border strikes. Meanwhile, Turkey supplied Pakistan's navy with Milgem-class corvettes, 4 warships in a deal worth $1.5 billion. Turkish firms designed the PNS Mohan tanker. Turkey is upgrading Pakistan's submarines. This isn't just cooperation. This is Pakistan's military modernization outsourced to Turkey. But the provocation most visible to Indian citizens came just days ago, something that crossed a red line. Turkey reportedly blocked the delivery of Indian Army attack helicopters mid-route, literally stopping US-made Apache choppers en route to India. A heavy-lift Antonov AN-124 transporting the final batch of Apaches was reportedly denied Turkish airspace and forced to turn back. A NATO member denied safe passage to a helicopter delivery meant for a democratic partner nation, because that nation was India. The Antonov, serial number UR82008, had left Arizona on the 1st of November. It refueled in the UK, waited for 8 days, and then, instead of proceeding east, it flew back to the US. Boeing blamed external factors, but Indian intelligence agencies already knew the truth. Turkey blocked the route deliberately.
Well, it's extremely unprecedented for a country to deny its airspace for the transport of arms, particularly a country like Turkey, which is in the transit between Europe and Asia. Turkey is a third-party, non-belligerent state. Now, in the past, arms embargoes have been in place. Arms shipments have been diverted because of embargoes, domestic politics, sanctions, and all of that. But Turkey is a country which is a non-belligerent in this case. It has no enmity with India. There is no declared hostilities. For it to deny its airspace for an arms shipment is extremely unprecedented and, in fact, even gravely provocative.
This wasn't bureaucratic confusion, it was geopolitical messaging. Ankara wanted India to feel the cost of its growing closeness with Greece, Cyprus, Armenia, Israel, and the West. But for India, this wasn't merely about helicopters. It was a glimpse into Turkey's bigger strategy, an attempt to undermine India's rise as a regional and as a global power. To understand Ankara's motivations, we must track the ideological foundations of the Pakistan-Turkey bond. Both nations follow the Hanafi school of Sunni Islam. Both promote hardline political Islam in their rhetoric. And both see themselves, not Arabs, not Iranians, but themselves as rightful leaders of the Muslim world. For Pakistan, Turkey provides legitimacy and military technology. For Turkey, Pakistan provides manpower, influence in South Asia, and a gateway into the Indian subcontinent. President Erdoğan has repeatedly raised the issue of Kashmir, including during bilateral meetings with India, not once or twice, but so persistently that it has become a point of diplomatic tension.
At all times, esteemed friends, in South Asia, we consider the preservation of peace and stability to be of utmost importance. We are pleased with the ceasefire achieved following the tensions last April between Pakistan and India, the tension which had escalated into a conflict. It is important to see a cooperation between the two countries when it comes to counterterrorism. The issue of Kashmir should be resolved on the basis of resolutions of the UN for the best for our brothers and sisters in Kashmir through dialogue, we hope.
Turkey openly supports Pakistan's call for a UN-supervised plebiscite or referendum in the region, a demand India has consistently and firmly rejected. And how can we forget about the report that during India's Operation Sindoor, cargo planes linked to the Turkish government may have delivered military supplies to Pakistan.
कश्मीर के मुद्दे पे हम लोगों का बयान साफ है। हमारा क्या पोजीशन रहा है पिछले गत सालों में, गत दशकों में, उससे आप सभी लोग भली भांति वाकिफ हैं। जहां तक नॉर्थ साइप्रस की आपने बात कही, मैं आपका ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहूँगा। जो विदेश मंत्री की मीटिंग हुई साइप्रस के फॉरेन मिनिस्टर से, उस पे ये बातचीत हुई और वहाँ पर आपका ध्यान मैं आकर्षित करना चाहूँगा कि विदेश मंत्री ने इस बात पर बातचीत की और ये कहा गया कि हम उस बात का समर्थन करते हैं कि एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव और लास्टिंग सेटलमेंट हो साइप्रस के मुद्दे पे in accordance with the agreed UN framework and relevant UNSC resolutions.
This pattern is clear. Turkey is using Pakistan as a proxy to challenge India. Yet the story is more complicated because India and Turkey aren't small players. They're major economies, major militaries, and until recently, rising partners. Trade between the two countries once aimed for $20 billion. Today, it hovers near $9 billion, with India holding a strong surplus. India exports chemicals, engineering goods, electronics. Turkey, on the other hand, exports minerals, fuel, and manufactured goods. But in recent years, public backlash in India has hit Turkish tourism, marble imports, and business contracts. And the backlash isn't just public. India's Bureau of Civil Aviation Security suspended the clearance of Celebi, a Turkish aviation services company. Travel between the two countries slowed. New deals froze. Turkey may have chosen Pakistan for ideological reasons, but India responded with economic leverage. But let's be clear, India is not looking for a new enemy. It is looking for clarity on what Turkey wants and what India must do next. So is Turkey truly India's new adversary, or is this simply a temporary diplomatic clash shaped by Pakistan's desperation and Erdogan's political ambitions? Let's examine the structural drivers. Turkey's economy is struggling. Inflation is high. Foreign investment is shrinking. Ankara is looking for geopolitical relevance after losing influence in Europe and West Asia. Pakistan, meanwhile, has become a client state of China, dependent on Beijing for defense, finance, and infrastructure. Both countries share a frustration. Turkey lost its Western leadership role after buying the Russian S-400 missile system, which triggered American sanctions and cost it the F-35 fighter jet. Is this why they're turning toward each other? Two allies trying to rediscover relevance through an Islamic bloc. But here's where the picture shifts for India. Because while Turkey locked itself into Pakistan, India expanded its reach. India strengthened ties with Greece, Cyprus, Armenia, Turkey's regional rivals. When Azerbaijan, backed by Turkey, attacked Armenia, India stepped in with military supplies. India also deepened intelligence cooperation with Israel and security ties with the UAE and Saudi Arabia. This is the strategic irony. Turkey backed Pakistan against India, but the Muslim world, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Egypt, backed India. In fact, Turkey now finds itself quite isolated. Gulf states distrust Erdogan's political Islam. Israel sees Ankara as a destabilizing force. Europe sees it as unpredictable. Even the US views Turkey as a rogue NATO member flirting with Russia and China. So where does this leave India? Does Turkey matter enough to be treated as an enemy, or is this a distraction, a nuisance, but not a strategic threat? In military power rankings, India stands 4th, Turkey 9th, Pakistan 12th. Combined, Turkey and Pakistan do not outweigh India's capabilities, but they do create tactical challenges. Drones, airspace blocks, diplomatic noise, information warfare, and military technology transfers.
Well, that it entirely depends what happens after President Erdogan leaves the stage, because it's under Erdogan in the last decade or so that Turkey has, pushed a very hard pan-Islamist, a neo-Ottoman kind of policy in which Pakistan has suddenly become a close ally and India has become an adversary. Particularly, the issue of Kashmir has been raked up repeatedly by Turkey. Now, it all depends on what happens, what unfolds in Turkey after Erdogan leaves the stage. Will the AKP continue his pan-Islamist agenda, or will it try to de-hyphenate Pakistan from India as other Gulf countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia have done? So it entirely depends on Turkey's domestic politics. It's the trajectory that the AKP follows after Erdogan, because the reality is that under Erdogan, India has become an implacable foe and Pakistan has become a brother country whom Turkey supports with not just United Nations statements, but also through arms transfers and even weapon supplies that during conflicts, as we've seen during Operation Sindoor.
So how should India respond? Not emotionally, not impulsively, but strategically, with cold precision. First, India must tighten export and technology controls on sensitive sectors linked to Turkey, especially dual-use parts that Pakistan could indirectly access. Second, Delhi should deepen military cooperation with Turkey's adversaries, Greece, Cyprus, and Armenia, continuing the quiet axis already forming. Third, India must bolster drone defense systems, counter UAV grids, and radar networks, because Turkey-Pakistan cooperation will increasingly focus on swarm drones, stealth UAVs, and cheap precision weapons. Fourth, India must leverage its economic size. At $4.2 trillion, India is the world's fourth largest economy, soon to be third. Turkey, at $1.5 trillion, is far behind. Pakistan, at $410 billion, is nowhere close. The economic gap gives India silent leverage that can hurt Turkey far more than Ankara can hurt India. Fifth, Delhi must strengthen global narratives, exposing Turkey's support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, highlighting Ankara's growing tilt toward China, and making it harder for Turkey to present itself as a responsible NATO member. And finally, India must keep the door open. Turkey is not China. It certainly is not Pakistan. It is a country trapped between ideology and economy, between ambition and insecurity. Parts of Turkey's establishment know that burning bridges with India is indeed a mistake. The Pakistan-Turkey nexus is real. It is a challenge. It is a strategic irritant, but it is not an existential threat to India. Not now, not with India's alliances expanding in West Asia, Europe, and the Indo-Pacific. Not with India's economy surging, not with India's military modernization accelerating. Turkey has made its choice for now, but India does not need to respond with hostility. It needs to respond with strength, clarity, and confidence. Because the stronger India grows, the weaker Turkey's provocations become. Many might wonder, is Turkey India's new enemy? The answer is more complex. Turkey is not an enemy, but a country allowing its ideology to overshadow its interests. And India, calm, patient, rising, must ensure that its own interests remain unshaken. Thank you for watching Statecraft.